You, we're live? We're live. You know, I usually wait until like Monday to talk about fights that happen on Saturday night. And I am going to come back on here probably Monday, tomorrow, right? But I have to get this out now. Like, there's so many things that we have to discuss in this moment today. And I just wanted to get it out real quick, right? Come on in, come on in. If you're watching the replay of this live, I salute you. Come on in. Please feel free to put a comment in the comment section below. I love to hear your feedback. Come on in. I didn't even give anyone any pre-warning or scheduling for this live. I just want to go right in. A couple of things on my mind I want to talk about it, right? About last night. Omega Red, salute. Sin Ironheart, salute. Steve Mega, salute. What's up? The whole family here now. Yeah, come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Yo, check this out, right? Grab a plate. I have some food that I want to serve you this afternoon. Some food for thought. Now, some people are going to like what I'm going to say. Some people not going to like what I'm going to say. But that's what I love about boxing and content creation. You don't have to have the same perspective, right? Come on in. Come on in. Yo, grab a plate, though. When you come in, yo, grab a plate. I promise you, you ain't going to find this nowhere else. That's why I'm glad you're here. Come on in, y'all. Look, right? Look, this is a small circle today. Nobody knew I was going live. Come on in. Do me a favor, though, right? Because I see a couple people starting to come to the classroom. Come on in, right? Yo, do me a favor if you can. Click the like button. You know I don't ask for much. I'm the most controversial, how do I say it, Omega? I'm the most controversial, the most imitated, the most insulted, but the least paid content creator in the YouTube boxing community when it comes to the sport of boxing, right? Okay, so I don't ask for much, but feel free, click the like. I see how many people we have in here. Come on in, come on in, come on. Come on in, come on in. Now, hold on for a minute. Who was that? I was just, I was just about to comment on that. Yo, that's crazy. Look, check this out, right? I just want to say this because you know I'm very controversial. Look, check this out, right? So someone in the live chat, right? Let me make sure I don't want to. Hold on. I was getting a text. Hold on one second. Un momento. All right, I'm going to read that later. Now, I want to see something real quick. Hold on. Hey, Sin. Hey, Sin Ironheart. I appreciate that, bro. Listen, I have the best moderators on YouTube. I promise you. I appreciate that, Sin. Nah, let me tell y'all what happened. So what? It's controversy, it's all entertainment. So when I said I'm the most controversial, right? I'm the most imitated, I'm the most insulted, but the least paid content creator in the YouTube boxing community, right? Someone said in response to that, you're the most handsome as well, or something like that, right? The only problem I had with that compliment is that it was coming from a man's image. I don't know if it was a man or a woman that said it. I don't know the gender, but the picture or image, it was a man's picture. So shout out to my guy, Sin Ironheart, for that. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, now, let's get to it. Enough with the hugs, handshakes, and Valentine's Day cards, right? You know what? I can't even do this show with this jacket on, yo. Because it's going to get hot in here in a minute. Yo, one thing I know about myself, right? I'm not everyone's cup of tea, right? I get it. So I say things that people like. I say things that people don't like. You don't have to agree with me. Who cares? Yo, check this out. Let's get to these fights from last night real quick, right? Where the ladies at? I feel like women should be telling me I'm handsome. I don't really want to, you know what I mean? I don't really want to see that. But I get it though. I just want to hear the ladies say I'm handsome, not no men. I don't really, to each his own though. I don't judge or misjudge others. You know what I mean? It feels better. I'm more comfortable getting the compliment of my looks from women. That's all I'm saying. Now, with that being said, that don't have nothing to do with boxing. I just wanted to say that because I can, right? Let's start with Scooter, right? We call him. He was from Nebraska. Yo, I don't know if he was. I don't know if he was from Nebraska's Ironheart. I don't know, but what I do know, Steve, is that I have a most wanted picture with my face on it in the state of Nebraska. Okay, particularly the city of Omaha. I don't think they will welcome me in Omaha. I was told that they would. Like the guy, y'all remember him? My man, LC, Terrence Crawford's homie, one of his friends, right? Yeah, one of his friends. Y'all know LC. Remember he came on the platform several times? Yeah. Terrence Crawford's friend, right? Who lived down the street from Terrence Crawford and Bomax boxing gym. He acknowledged that he was, this was like 2 years ago, but he was on here like a few months ago though. He was the teacher, one of the teachers of what's the guy? Oh man, what's this dude, man? Bernie the Boxer. One of the, I think he said Bernie the Boxer's son was one of his students in school, in the school district out there. LC, y'all remember him? Well, he told me, I'm just going by what the man told me. He told me that some people do like me in Omaha. So I might have to travel out there. I mean, I want to go to Omaha. I've heard some great things about Omaha, Nebraska. I do want to go out there though. Like for real, I really do. I mean, I was told if I go out there, I'm gonna have to need like 25 security guards, armed security too. I was told that. Not from somebody from no one from Omaha told me that. It was just people from all over the world. Like people in California. I got my homies and them from Ohio, Baltimore, Maryland, DC. I got homies like everywhere, right? And most of them said, yo, when you go to Omaha, you better make sure you have 25 armed security guards. I'm like, dang, for what? Because I'm talking about boxing or, I made some statements about Terrence Crawford on YouTube. Like, for real? It's boxing, y'all. I don't know. But I'm going to go out there, though. Who want to go out there with me, though? Who want to go to Omaha with me? Yo, shout out to my guy right there, GHBTV in the building. My man Hack in the building. So let me talk about this, right? I want to talk about two fights in particular, right? I got a lot of love and respect for my guy, Scooter, man. We call him Scooter in Philly. Cool boy Steph. I was so heartbroken last night, man. I was rooting for my guy. I really wanted him. And I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people might not like what I'm going to say, but I really think that Scooter, right, Cool boy Steph, Stephen Fulton, if most of y'all don't know his nickname, he has enough skills to beat that guy, man. It just wasn't his night last night. You know what I mean? He has enough skills to beat O'Shaquie Foster. And listen, this takes nothing away from O'Shaquie. I got to give credit where it's due. I'm a real one. Yo, O'Shaquie Foster, he did a good job. Yo, he did a good job. He stepped to the game plan. He got behind his stick, right? He was landing that jab effectively, the 1-2. And I was watching the fights, right? With Lil Marty, right? My son. Most of y'all met him on YouTube when he came on the platform here, right? Me and him was watching all the fights last night. And I kept trying to explain to my son, particularly when we was watching the Sugar Shane Mosley, Jesus Ramos Jr. fight. Woo! That was a fight too. But I kept trying to teach my son a technique in boxing. And I'm not an expert when it comes to training. We got my guy, Greg Hackett. He's an expert, one of the top trainers here in Philly, right? But I was teaching my son because we saw Sugar. I got to stop calling him Sugar Shane. I think his name is Spicy or something. I'm not gonna call another man Spicy. I'm just me personally. I'm just. I mean, me personally, I'm not gonna do it. But I think his nickname is Spicy Shane or something like that, like a play of words off his father's moniker of Sugar Shane Mosley. I'm not calling that man Spicy at all. I'm just not gonna do it. He's a grown man. I'm a grown man. I'm not calling another man Spicy. But I'm talking about his son, Sugar Shane's son, right? I'm just going to say Shane Jr. So when Shane Jr. was fighting Jesus Ramos, I was explaining to my son last night a technique in boxing, especially when you have a southpaw fighting against an orthodox fighter. You know, and both fighters, doesn't matter the gender, we're talking technique here. The fighter who wins the foot battle will get the better of their exchanges, offensively and defensively. Let me give you an example of what I mean. When you have a southpaw fighter, right, they're leading with their right foot. When you have an orthodox fighter, they're leading with their left foot. Let's just use the southpaw fighter as an example. The southpaw fighter, let's just use it as an example. It could be either fighter. Have their right foot or should have their right foot on the outside of the left foot or the lead foot of the orthodox fighter and vice versa. And a lot of times we'll see these fights when there's an orthodox fighter versus a southpaw fighter in their stance, and we see that one of them are getting the better of exchanges, meaning they're landing flush. Because if you're a southpaw, right, and your right foot is on the outside of the lead left foot of an orthodox fighter, the straight left hand is always going to come straight down the middle and land more effectively. Always, right? But when you got the southpaw fighter whose right foot, their lead foot is on the inside of the orthodox fighter's lead foot, the left foot, how can they defend themselves and counter? They can't. They're going to keep getting peppered with the same shots over and over and over again. And we saw this happen in that Sugar Shane Mosley, Jesus Ramos fight. And we also seen it happen again when my man Scooter, Cool Boy Steph, fought O'Shaquie Foster. And on top of that, O'Shaquie Foster started to switch his stance. He was going from orthodox starting out, then southpaw, then he switched it from southpaw to orthodox. He did a tremendous job. He stuck to the game plan. He kept Scooter at bay. He didn't allow Scooter to sit down on his punches and really land flush and really let his hands go. And then Scooter was smothering his punches a lot. When he did get those opportunities, those rare opportunities to get on the inside, right? But I expected him to do much better than he did. All credit goes to, O'Shaquie Foster. Scooter got to go back to the drawing board. He has a great trainer in Bozy. I don't know if he's going to stick to Wally or is he going to stick to Bozy in his next fight. But he's got a great training staff. I don't know what his training camp looked like. I don't know. But he did miss weight. Let's be clear on that. He missed weight by 2 pounds. So we have to consider all of those elements when we talk about what happened in that fight. All right? I was disappointed because I really was rooting for him. Yes, he is from Philly. So some people can say, well, Marty, you biased because you're from Philly, and I do support the Philly fighters. But I keep it real when it comes to the Philly fighters too. I don't just curve what I want to say or the reality of what's going on all because they're from Philly. And y'all know that about me. I've been very consistent for the 3 years I've been on YouTube. And today is no exception to the rule, all because I like Scooter. He's a good guy, and he's a good fighter. But last night was O'Shaquie Foster's night. And I believe that if he go to the drawing board and work on some techniques to get on the inside a little better, not smother his punches, right? Move his head, because his head stayed on the line all night. And I heard Bozy giving him some instructions, but I also didn't hear Bozy give him certain other instructions as well. I don't know what they are, because I'm not an expert. I'm not a trainer. But I do wish that he would have gotten more instruction and would have followed some instructions. Like, even when Bozy was giving Scooter some instructions, he wasn't following it. I don't know if he thought that he saw something different, because a lot of fighters go through that too, where they're actually inside the ring and they see one thing, and then the trainers are on the outside of the ring, right? And they're seeing something different in the minds of the fighter. I don't know if that was the case. I also don't equally know if he was second guessing himself. Fighters do that too when they know they can get countered. They get the second guessing their stuff. Like, I know if I throw this, this might come back. So I just wish that he would have stepped in with some of his punches so that he can put O'Shaquie in range to land some of those shots and start letting his hands go. I really thought he was going to pick it up after like 3 or 4 rounds, because a lot of fighters have skills when it comes to picking up the rhythm and timing of their opponent. And I actually thought that was going to happen with Scooter, because everybody knows this about O'Shaquie Foster. Even though he's a good fighter, he's not a high volume type of puncher. Like, he don't go into his fights landing 150 punches per round like somebody like a Manny Pacquiao, who was, I'm gonna leave that alone, but his performance was enhanced when he was fighting De La Hoya throwing 1,000 punches. But at the end of the day, we know Pacquiao's style, is the point that I'm making. But O'Shaquie Foster's style is not throwing a lot of punches per round. But of course, when you got a guy in Scooter not throwing and landing back, of course you can increase your volume now. And that's exactly, basically what took place. I thought that Scooter was going to come in a little bit more aggressively to press O'Shaquie and back him up. But I think he was more so second guessing himself because, like I said, them counters, that jab, that cross, they were coming back at a rapid pace. And it's natural, it happens, but Scooter definitely gave the young man his flowers. He stood up tall and he took his L like a man. And you can't ask for nothing more from a professional boxer when they recognize that they could have did better and it just wasn't their night. Okay, now let's get on to Lamont Roach, because I have a whole mouthful to say about Lamont Roach allegedly being robbed last night. Let's start here. Before I say anything else, I don't ask for much. I promise you I don't. Can I get a like? Please? I don't ask for much. The reason why I'm asking for a like, let's be clear here, right? Is because I want the education and entertainment value of what you're experiencing live to reverberate all across the YouTube boxing community. So when you start engaging in the live chat, when you start clicking on those likes, YouTube start pushing the algorithm out. Apparently, they changed their algorithm. YouTube did. If y'all noticed that, right? You know how somebody can do a nice, crazy, great thumbnail and a really good video with a good title and a good description, they gonna pop up with 200 views, right? Because YouTube has changed their algorithm. I don't know what that is, so I guess I got to be grateful for my little 150 views, even if I put Terrence Crawford's title, even if I put Terrence Crawford's name in the title. Where they do that at, YouTube? But I don't complain. I'm the least paid on here anyway. I take my little 2 pennies, I get my little 5 cents a month. All right, I get more than 5 cents a month. But the way my child support payments is set up, y'all just gonna know I get 5 cents a month off of YouTube. Okay? But I'm the least paid regardless of how you try to calculate it. What they say, get your hand out of my pocket. Yeah, get your hand out. Don't worry about how much I'm getting paid. I'm not getting paid much. Now, I am doing this for entertainment purposes, but let's be real, I'm not getting paid that much on YouTube, seriously. But I'm grateful for the little bit of pennies that I'm blessed to receive based off of your viewership and your support. That's basically what I was getting at with all that, all right? Now, Lamont Roach, Isaac Pitbull Cruz, okay? I'm going to start off with the foundation of this. Lamont Roach said, now I have to go by what I heard the man say. He said in the buildup of this fight, In multiple interviews and even in multiple press conferences, I've heard the man say that Pitbull has one way of winning, and I have 10 ways to win. That's a direct quote from the Reaper, Lamont Roach. So I have a question on that. This is just my question, period, right off the bat. If Lamont Roach had 10 ways to win, how come we only saw 2 of those 10 ways? The first way we saw was Lamont Roach's own style, and the second way we saw was Pitbull Cruz's style. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I just want to know, where were the other 8 ways for Lamont Roach to win this fight? Because officially, as we know today, the fight was deemed as a draw. So the question becomes, did Lamont Roach get robbed in this fight? Did the judges rob this young man? Is this one of those situations where corruption in boxing is raising its ugly head? That's the question we need to ask. I think I have a great legitimate answer for all of you if you stick with me, right? But before I give y'all my answer, let's go back to the foundation of something else. Lamont Roach and Isaac Pitbull Cruz was a 50-50 fight all the way around the board before this fight happened. That's just the bottom line. Now, we did hear Lamont Roach say that he was going to be the first one to go in that ring and knock Pitbull out. I mean, that's what I heard. I'm just going by what I heard now. That's what Lamont Roach said. But that's not what happened. In fact, what did happen was Lamont Roach got knocked down. His glove touched the canvas. He actually spent around after getting hit by a very, very effective and impressive left hook by Cruz, by Pitbull, right? Before we get into all of that, let's start from the foundation of what happened in that ring. And I'm giving you my observation. I'm going to walk you through, and then I'm going to give you what I believe happened last night with the judges' scorecards calling this fight a draw. You're not going to find this nowhere else. And that's why I'm glad you're here. Now, the first thing that I saw from round 1 all the way up to round 12, but in spots, there were some adjustments being made by Lamont Roach. But the first thing I noticed right from the opening bell was that Lamont Roach was actually crouching down, standing at the same height level as Pitbull Cruz. I saw that from the opening bell. I even turned to Lil Marty. I even turned to my son and was like, yo, you see this? Let me show you how this is going to become a problem for him doing this. He was literally crouching down in the boxing stance to Pitbull Cruz's height, which means that when they were engaging on the inside in the phone booth, Pitbull Cruz, basically, who had a reach disadvantage, was able to land effective shots because Lamont was standing right in front of him. Speaking of reach disadvantage for Cruz, let me ask a question regarding Lamont Roach. Since when does a professional boxer who has the weight advantage, the height advantage, and the reach advantage look like Lamont Roach looked in that fight last night? I'm going to say it again because I know there's people sitting right in the back of the classroom with their heads down and they missed it. If you have an answer, please feel free in the live chat to give me a fighter's name. If you're watching the replay of this live, I welcome you also. You can engage in the comment section below. When this live go off, I want to answer that. I just need an answer on that. Since when? Just name a fighter, if you have one, if you can remember one, who had the weight advantage, the height advantage, and the reach advantage, and looked like the way Lamont Roach performed last night. Now, when you come back with that answer, right? If you do have an answer of a fighter who basically can mirror what happened last night with those three advantages, if you come with an answer with a fighter's name, I want to know what the end result looked like for them in that fight. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because I know Lamont Roach is criticizing the judges. I've heard him last night. I know he said he was going to go back to the drawing board. I heard him last night. I know he said, this has happened to me again. It happened to me in the Tank fight where I had to draw, and it happened to me again in this fight. It's a conspiracy. He blamed the judges. But Lamont Roach told Cameron. Lamont Roach told the media. Lamont Roach told the boxing public. In the buildup of this fight, he wasn't going to leave the fight in the judge's hands. I mean, that's what I heard him say. But unfortunately, the fight was left in the judge's hands again. Now, with that being said, Lamont Roach from the opening bell was crouching down to the height level of Pitbull Cruz instead of fighting tall, using that reach advantage against a Mexican-style fighter who comes forward and press you. Pepper him with that jab. He has a reach disadvantage. So it's going to take him a lot more steps to get to the target. But with a good jab, he'll never be able to get close to the target. Get behind that jab. Dig to the body. So you got the jab, dig to the body. Keep turning this young man. This should have been an easier fight for Lamont Roach with his skill set. Weight advantage, height advantage, and reach advantage. Lamont Roach didn't fight tall. Now, at some point in the middle rounds, as he was coming back, in my opinion, on my scorecards, he started boxing, using that jab. He digged to the body a few times, but Lamont Roach started fighting Pitbull Cruz's fight, especially after he got officially knocked down. He starts standing toe-to-toe with Pitbull Cruz in the phone booth, in close quarters, to a point where you could have tied both of their shoelaces together. Pitbull Cruz left foot and Lamont Roach left foot. Tie both of their boxing shoes together and just let them rock them, sock them. That was the style that Lamont Roach started to basically mimic from Cruz. I don't know if that was a part of the strategy in their training camp. I don't know. But what I do know is after he got knocked down, after he got caught with that big left hand, he says, okay, you know what? I'm not boxing. I'm not going to use my jab. I'm going to lead with hooks. I'm going to fight you toe-to-toe. And if you look at Lamont Roach's face at the post-fight press conference, he looked like he got beat up because he did. Isaac Cruz got beat up too. He took some big punches. I mean, it was a good fight. Very entertaining fight to help close out the year of 2025. Very entertaining fight on both parts. Isaac Cruz part and Lamont Roach. So we got to give credit to both guys. Very entertaining bout. And guess what? It was a seesaw battle. Up until Lamont Roach did start making the adjustments, where he stopped banging them in that rock 'em, sock 'em strategy in close quarters in the phone booth, when he start leading with his jab, when he start moving his head off the line, when he starts stepping to the side and countering Pitbull Cruz to a point where to me, Lamont was doing that for 2, 3, possibly 4, but I want to give him 3 that I know of per se. 3 consecutive rounds. And then guess what happened? Isaac Cruz, listening to his trainer, which is his father, he started to make an adjustment where he was starting to mimic Roach style. Now Pitbull Cruz is a boxer all of a sudden in the middle rounds. Yes, Pitbull Cruz started boxing. That's not his style. Trying to stick and move, jumping on his bicycle, getting in and getting out, which is the words that his father used in the corner. Okay? Now, people are saying that Lamont Roach got robbed. People are saying it was a conspiracy against Lamont Roach. Even he's even saying it. Here's the problem that I have with half of that. Lamont Roach made this fight closer than what it had to be. And we all can agree to that. Whether we believe Lamont Roach won, whether we believe Pitbull Cruz won, whether we believe it was a draw, we all can come together and agree to that fact. Lamont Roach made this fight harder for himself than he should have, because he started to box later on and he started to bang it up with Isaac Cruz, exchanging with this guy in close quarters in the phone booth, which gave the reach advantage to Isaac Cruz, which gave the height advantage to Isaac Cruz. So I can't just naturally say that the fix was in, that there was a conspiracy to rob Lamont, when Lamont Roach is the one who made this fight close in the first place, fighting Pitbull Cruz's style. Not only that, but when Pitbull Cruz started coming on 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, those rounds, he stopped moving. He stopped going in and out. He stopped trying to box. Round 9 and up, really. And he started going right back to his original strategy. Pitbull Cruz, I'm talking about. He started to go right back to his fighting style. Bang it out with a high volume of punches on the inside. That's Pitbull Cruz's style. Everybody knows that. Everybody. It doesn't take a casual boxing fan to know that if you watch Pitbull Cruz fight twice in 2 different fights, you know his style. He's going to come forward. He's going to press you. He lands a lot of accurate punches to the head and to the body. And he's not going to stop coming for 12 rounds. And guess what? It's not just aggression. He's effective with his aggression. And he's a good finisher. We know these things about Pitbull Cruz. So my thing is, if you know that about Pitbull Cruz, why not go in there with the mentality to follow the blueprint of someone like a Rayo? Y'all remember Rayo Valenzuela? When he fought Pitbull Cruz and gave Pitbull Cruz his first loss and even took Pitbull Cruz's title from him, he boxed him, jumped on his bicycle, kept turning Pitbull Cruz, hitting him with the check hook, jabbing him. Yes, it was at a very high pace, but he got it done and he won in dramatic fashion. It wasn't a draw and the fight wasn't even that close at all. But Lamont Roach didn't follow that blueprint. That's just the honest to God truth. So at one point we can say, well, Lamont Roach got robbed. Well, Lamont Roach, how did you leave it in the judge's hands? How did this fight even land as a draw in the first place? Because Lamont Roach did not fight Lamont Roach's style. He fought Pitbull Cruz's style. And basically the point that I was making before I got sidetracked a little bit was when Pitbull Cruz started coming back to his natural abilities, his style, 9, 10, 11, 12 rounds, Lamont Roach wasn't landing a lot of punches. Guess what Lamont Roach was doing, y'all? Lamont Roach was doing the same thing he complained about Tank Davis when they fought. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the arrogance. He started talking to Pitbull Cruz's corner in the middle of the fight. So that showed me he was losing focus. Instead of biting down on his mouthpiece, letting his hands go, and closing out the show. This is the same problem that I saw Lamont Roach do and have in the Tank fight. He didn't press on the gas at the end. See, you listen, it's not how you start in boxing. It's how you finish. It's not how you start in life. It's how you finish. He did not close out the show. In fact, I scored the 12th round for Pitbull Cruz. Another thing I want to point out, right? Both fighters was doing way too much excessive holding without the referee giving a warning at all. It was just too much. I don't mind fighters holding because I understand boxing. Okay? And you will have to hold at times in boxing. But excessive holding, it's a penalty. The referee did not warn or penalize these fighters consistently. He did penalize Pitbull Cruz one time. He also penalized Pitbull Cruz by taking a point away from Pitbull Cruz, claiming that Pitbull Cruz hit Lamont Roach in the back. Now, I don't think that was intentional or flagrant. So I personally don't agree with that call particularly. But just as much as I don't agree with that call, I equally don't agree with the judge scoring this bout 115 or 111, even considering and calculating the fact that Pitbull Cruz got a point taken away from him. I don't agree with that scorecard. That's just me. Shout out to BBO. Salute, BBO. Glad to see you. That's to me. I don't agree with that point being taken away. But equally, as I'm saying that, I don't agree with the judge scorecard that had the fight 115 and 111 in favor of Cruz. Pitbull. I don't agree with that at all. Pitbull Cruz did what Pitbull Cruz always does. We know how he's coming in these fights. We know. For 12 rounds, he's going to be a Pitbull. He's not going to get tired as much. He's going to get tired, but not as much. Yes, he's going to reduce his punch volume. As you saw, he reduced his punch volume in the middle rounds, which gave Lamont Roach the opportunity to do what? Get back in this fight and box Pitbull Cruz. But Lamont Roach stood in the pocket with this guy and banged it out with this guy and couldn't hurt this guy and didn't knock this guy down, didn't even buzz this guy. Pitbull Cruz was relentless, but that's his style. We know how Pitbull, come on, y'all. Stop playing. Y'all know how he coming through. But Lamont didn't make the adjustment to just stick to outboxing Pitbull Cruz, period. So if we're going to say that this fight shouldn't have been a draw, we can't blame the judges. They're judging what we see. But they're professionals. And 97.5% of you don't know how to judge fights because you haven't been trained and certified. I do. I am trained and certified. So I'm looking at things from a totally different perspective. But with that being said, the judges didn't create this environment for this fight to become a draw. Lamont Roach did when he stood in the pocket in the phone booth, banging it out with Isaac Cruz instead of boxing him and using the weight advantage, height advantage, and reach advantage that he had against Pitbull Cruz. That's just the reality of it. So I can't sit here and scream robbery, robbery, robbery for Lamont Roach. You see what I'm saying? I can't do it. Not in good faith, knowing what I know, how to referee, how to become an official, how to officiate fights, how to judge fights, how to be a timekeeper. I have training in all of those things. Lamont Roach created the environment for this fight to be a draw. So I do agree with him in the post-fight interview in the ring where he said, I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board because he does. He could have easily beat Pitbull Cruz. Had he did to Pitbull Cruz in the rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, in the beginning of this fight, all the way through. I believe that he second-guessed himself after getting knocked down. But I also equally believe that Lamont Roach, this is what I believe, underestimated Pitbull Cruz before the fight even started. Oh, he's smaller in weight. I got a height advantage. I got the reach advantage. This guy, I'm at the press conference. I'm seeing him. He's short. All he's going to do is come forward, come forward. Oh, I got him. That's what I believe the mentality, and I could be wrong, but I'm just saying I thought the mentality of Lamont Roach was that before the fight. Underestimating Isaac Cruz. And he started to become arrogant as the fight progressed in the middle to late rounds, talking to the corner. He get hit on the belt line. He nudged Pitbull Cruz and just walked away. This is the same thing they was complaining about Tank doing. Remember? When Lamont Roach was fighting Tank, and Tank just walked away, turned his back. Y'all remember that? After he took that knee, right? Lamont Roach did that last night. He did that. Just after he thought he got low-bowed, he just turned his back. All right, man, I don't know. He just stopped. We've seen that. He wasn't the A-side in that fight last night. Pitbull Cruz was. Not saying the A-side should do that, but I know how these A-side fighters think sometimes. It's their show. They the main event. And I believe the same thing that happened with Lamont Roach last night was the same thing that happened with Tony Harrison. Remember when Tony Harrison fought Jamel Charlo in a rematch? Where he was actually stepping back mentally, admiring his work. Y'all remember that? Go back and watch. That was a really good fight. Go back and watch the replay of that fight between Tony Harrison and Jamel Charlo. You're going to see how Tony Harrison was shimmying all in the round after he got hit by Charlo. He was talking to Charlo. He was getting a little bit too arrogant, being cocky in the middle of the fight, losing focus. Losing mental focus and sticking to the game plan until the exact finish of this 12th round. And I believe Lamont Roach, after he weathered that storm, he realized, okay, I took Cruz's best punch. He can't hurt me. Now I'm going to try to hurt him. I'm going all out. And it's working. I'm improving so drastically where these rounds that's going by, I'm putting them in the bank. I'm winning these rounds. I'm winning these rounds. There's no point of me stepping back like I was doing in the early parts of this fight. No, I'm going to press him. And that's what he started to do. Talking to his corner. I'm talking about Roach talking to Isaac Cruz's corner. Getting cocky. Missing punches as time progressed. But the point is he landed some good shots. But after a while, 3 rounds go by, Pitbull Cruz said to himself, I'm not going to go out here and try to outbox him no more. I'm going to actually stick to my fighting style. And he did. And he was successful at it. Lamont Roach took some big shots last night. Pitbull Cruz took some big shots last night. The whole fight, overall, it was a great fight. But I can't sit here and scream robbery. Me personally, I judged this fight. I watched it closely. I cannot sit here and say that these judges, put together a conspiracy to rob Lamont Roach and give him a draw. No. Lamont Roach created the atmosphere and the environment for that to happen. Now, if you say that they robbed him as a boxing fan, please tell me in the live chat how. What evidence will you refer to? If you're watching the replay of this live, tell me in the comment section below. I'm going to engage with you. I really want to know, how did they rob him? He let Isaac Cruz come back even in the 12th round. The same thing that Roach did in that Tank fight in the later rounds. He didn't close out the show And I'm not saying in dramatic fashion like you got to knock the guy out when it's close. But when it's close, like it was in the Tank fight, when it's close, like it was in this fight last night, you got to let your hands go and land punches, particularly in the 11th and 12th round. You just have to do it. You have to step on the gas. And that's not what Lamont Roach did at the ending of this fight. That's just the reality of it. So, listen, but we all have different perspectives. I'm not saying your perspective is wrong. I'm not saying my perspective is right. I'm just going by the analysis that I conjured up based on my evaluation, based on my assessment, based on what I know about boxing, and based on what I know about both of these fighters, Lamont Roach and Pitbull Cruz. Their styles alone should tell you how this fight should have ended. Their fighting styles alone should tell you how Lamont Roach, a black African-American skilled, talented boxer, should fight a Mexican fighter who comes forward and press. Very simple, but that's not what happened. That's all I'm saying. I actually thought Lamont Roach was going to win this fight in a prediction. I didn't do a preview of any of these fights this time. But yeah, I actually thought that he had enough skill to outbox Isaac Cruz. I didn't expect for Lamont Roach to crouch down from the opening bell, round one. He literally was bending down in a boxing stance to be at the same height as Pitbull Cruz. And so he gave away his height when he did that. Then he started fighting on the inside, which is Pitbull Cruz's style. So he gave up the reach advantage that he had, 4.5-inch reach advantage, by the way. So he gave up the height advantage and he gave up the reach advantage from round one and got caught. And what round was that? 2 or 3? I think it was the third round when his glove touched the canvas. Got hit with a big left hook. He weathered the storm, so got to give him credit for that. But Roach basically thought that he had enough power to knock Cruz out. You can tell. And look, he never budged Cruz. Cruz never buckled. And if he did, I don't remember seeing that. He didn't buckle. He didn't wobble. He didn't stumble. Like, remember, he stumbled Tank a little bit, right? He didn't do that with Cruz. He didn't knock Cruz down. Apparently, we know he didn't knock him out. So what that tells me is, even with the point deduction of Pitbull Cruz, it still landed as a draw. So imagine if two of the judges are scoring it a majority draw for Cruz. If Lamont wouldn't have won one of those multiple rounds, this would have been a unanimous decision for Pitbull Cruz. Lamont Roach was waiting to counter Cruz in certain parts of this fight. And yes, that's a good strategy, but you can't do that for 3 minutes in the entire round. You're going to, at some point, particularly at the end, you're going to have to lead. You're going to have to be first, as we say it in boxing. And Lamont Roach wasn't first in the later rounds in the Tank fight, and he wasn't first in the later rounds in this fight. And it cost him. That's just the reality of it. Now, yes, it's very convenient for Lamont to say, the judges did it to me again. They're trying to rob me. They're just trying to make it a draw. I get it. But he has to take accountability for his actions throughout the duration of this fight. Now, I would like to see both of these guys running back, me personally, just like I would like to see Tank running back with Cruz, just like I want to see Tank running back with Roach. I would love to see Roach versus Pitbull Cruz in the rematch. I mean, I got a great feeling I know how Pitbull Cruz going to fight in the rematch if that happens, the same exact way that he always fight. But even if the rematch don't happen, overall, it was a great fight. But I cannot sit up here and say that the judges robbed Lamont Roach by calling this fight an official draw because of all the elements that I previously mentioned about how Lamont Roach created the atmosphere to use the judges basically as the scoring principles because he said he wasn't going to leave it in the judges' hands. That's what he said. He said he was going to be the first one to knock Isaac Cruz out. And he also said Isaac Cruz only had one way to win. And I have 10 different ways to win. But I only saw 2 of them. I only saw 2 ways. Lamont Roach way, according to his style, and Pitbull Cruz way, according to his style. And I'm talking about 2 ways from Lamont Roach. He fought his own style in the middle of the fight where he was boxing, using that jab, stepping to the side, right? And then the rest of the remainder of the fight, he was fighting Pitbull Cruz's style. But where was the other 8 ways? Because if you had 10 different ways, this fight should have never been as close as it was. So no, I can't just jump on a bandwagon and say because Lamont Roach claimed he was robbed and it was a draw that he was robbed. I can't do that. He created an environment for this to happen. And hopefully he goes back to the drawing board. And of course, Pitbull Cruz got to go back to the drawing board as well. Because he has to realize you got to stay in your strategy that's being successful in this fight. Don't deviate from your strategy all because you think your adjustment is going to confuse a boxer. That's not going to happen. Stick to who you are, Pitbull Cruz. From round 1 to round 12, which is why 95% of those fans who were there were basically Cruz fans. And most of us are Cruz fans because he's consistent. You know how he's coming. He's going to put it all on the line from round 1 to round 12 and give you your money's worth. Win, lose, or draw. He's going to be aggressive in his pressuring. He's going to land accurate punches. He's going to throw a barrage of punches. He's going to close out the show and finish the fighter once he realizes he has him hurt. We know this about Pitbull. But now we're seeing the same pattern with Lamont. And he did relatively well. But at the same time, you can't fight a Pitbull Cruz in the middle of the ring and bang it out with him toe-to-toe. When you have the weight advantage, the height advantage, and the reach advantage. That's just the reality of it. Right? And here's the great thing about it. Since somebody in my live chat is accusing me of ignoring them. First of all, if you want me to acknowledge you, this is YouTube. We know how YouTube works, don't we, y'all? Put it in the super chat. And I will respond to you and I will actually publicly acknowledge your comment. But let's keep it real. The judges are going by 4 different criteria to score each round. We know this. And if you don't know, I taught you this. And if you were not here when I taught that 2 years ago, I'm glad you're here now. I won't go over it, but the point that I'm really getting at is we can't automatically assume that because this fight was a draw, and this is the second time Lamont Roach's results have been a draw, that there was a conspiracy against this man. He fought Pitbull Cruz's style. He was not successful at doing that. In fact, he got knocked down trying to do that. And then after he gets knocked down, he went right back to fighting Pitbull Cruz's style for the next couple rounds. Then he did eventually make some adjustments. That's true, he did. But apparently it wasn't enough on the judges' scorecards. And here's the great thing about it. Pitbull Cruz is equally responsible for trying to fight Lamont Roach's style. We're not used to him jumping on no bicycle and trying to stick and move, get in and out, not throw no punches. Trying to outbox Lamont. So he lost them rounds. Pitbull Cruz did, I'm saying. So we got to look at all of the elements involved. Lamont Roach took some big shots last night, and he got punched in the face unnecessarily. That's just the reality of it. You know what? I'm doing way too much talking. You know, I mean, don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.